Property Tribe's on location at the Property Investor Show, and I'm joined now by the panel who've just been part of a big debate about where the private rented sector is going. And guys, well, I'll come to you, Richard, first. Was an hour long enough to discuss what's going on in the private rented sector? Because it seems to be so much.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, we started with regulation and the kind of bulge that's gone through the system in the last 12 months. We looked, of course, at Section 24 and whether Brexit will happen and the impact that could happen, and we also looked at tenant demand, whether that's falling and whether landlords are selling up as much as anecdotally or some of the evidence seems to be suggesting, and covered quite a lot of topics actually.
And Ruben, what was the sentiment in the room? Are landlords feeling sort of under attack?
Yeah, it's felt quite negative actually. Yeah, you know, there was a lot of kind of negative talk about kind of where landlords stand in the current market, and I got the impression from the audience that you know, a lot of people are quite worried about what's going to happen over the next few years as a result of Section 24, you know, combined with Brexit and the increased regulations. So yeah, it was quite a negative feel. But I think, you know, what I was trying to stress was it's important to look at the fundamentals of property. Property's going nowhere, and it's about looking at, you know, your key metrics and understanding your numbers, and you know, you can survive through any market.
Absolutely. And Peter, we've got two landlord associations represented on the panel, which I think is great, because I think we all say that everybody should join a landlord association, maybe even two, because they've got different flavours.
No, I completely agree with you. We have the odd situation that people come on our stand and I say, would you join? Belong to the NLA, RLA, whatever. My attitude is good. And they look surprised. Why? Because you belong to a landlord association. I prefer it's ours, but you belong to a landlord association. Only what, 20% do? Something like that? So, which is ridiculous. So the theme of today, I think, one of the themes that came out of this talk was we're trying to say to people, be professional, don't stick your head in the sand, know what's coming up, because you know, expect the unexpected, quite frankly, but be professional. That was the thing that came over. Do you think so? You know, and we're trying to do that, don't we? So, absolutely. So, yeah, belong to a landlord association, please.
Hear, hear. And Tony, coming to you, obviously Section 24, massive topic for landlords, not going to go away, only going to become more intense.
Absolutely, it's going to become more intense. The pressure is on the sector, get its act together, start seeking advice. Don't be worried about the political threats. Get on running a business. And Section 24 is just another tool that you can make to your advantage, as opposed to seeing it as a big threat. What will happen, though, is the truly accidental landlords will leave, but nature abhors a vacuum, and those maximising the commercial benefits of building, running and growing a professional property business will step in and prosper.
I totally agree. Where there's scarcity, there's value, isn't there? And I think, you know, in a way, we're talking to the informed landlord here today because they've bothered to turn up and be part of this event. What can we do apart from interviews and social media to really help get the message out there that landlords, in order to survive, they are going to have to be educated and informed?
Yes, I mean, I don't see things quite as gloomily perhaps as Ruben does. I mean, I feel that we went through a period of depression maybe a year or so ago, and I think we're heading into realism now. People are being realistic. We are seeing quite a surprising number of newbies actually coming to exhibitions like this, but I think they've really seem to have their heads screwed on, and they know that they really need to understand mortgages and the tax situation in a way that perhaps people weren't as thorough before. So you know, I think it's an interesting time. We're on the cusp of Brexit either happening or not, of course, and a lot of us are holding and waiting and seeing, and you know, may well start pouncing again, you know, after March the 29th.
Indeed. You mentioned Brexit there. I think one thing that landlords really don't like is uncertainty. Do you agree, Ruben?
Absolutely, yeah. You know, nobody really knows what's going to happen over the next 6 months or so. But going back to my point with regards to the negativity, I think it may have come out a little bit wrong there. I was trying to kind of stress the fact that it's really important to look at your area, understand your location, where you're investing, look at the numbers, and as Tony suggested, look at your tax situation and your legal situation with regards to any plans you make in property. So with regards to Brexit, yeah, who knows what's going to happen? You know, we could end up with a hard Brexit, which could lead to inflation, rising interest rates, or we can end up, you know, with another vote, we're back to square one, you know, so nobody really knows, and I think landlords have just got to kind of, you know, batten down the hatches and just carry on, really.
Indeed, and I think we're going to enter much more an era where landlords have to be far more proactive rather than reactive. Do you see it that way, Peter?
Yes, because basically landlording is a business and landlords should treat it as such, and they, again, hate to keep using this word professional, they need to be that, and no business likes uncertainty. So, you know, and landlords are no different. And hopefully, one of the things that was said today was, hopefully there will be a shake-up on a lot of the dead wood, the people who don't really know what they're doing, the accidental landlords who haven't been willing to professionalise will drop out of it. So it could be a different market in a couple of years' time, which should be good, but hang on in there, do it properly, do it correctly.
Maybe just batten down the hatches, get the right advice and really hang in there.
Keep calm, carry on, talk to people who know what they're doing, and make sure you get the advice joined up, and not just from the local who doesn't really understand property whatsoever.
I totally agree.
The thing that came out of it was, again, we said today, is use someone that knows what they're talking about. Yeah. So, you know, if you're looking at tax, don't just use a general high street accountant, look at someone that understands tax to do with lettings in particular. Yeah. So whatever area you're in, take correct advice, preferably more than one.
Yeah. I totally agree. And just as we close out here, I think what we've noticed at Property Tribes, having been to House of Commons reception, we've met with the Special Advisor to James Brokenshire in the last couple of weeks, we have noticed a change in government rhetoric towards landlords, that it seems to be more conciliatory, more wishing to hear our point of view. And I think it's actually very positive, the things that are starting to come through now.
Yes, I hope so. I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? Because a lot of the recent changes have been rabbits pulled out of hats that none of us were expecting. So we're all slightly fearful that, you know, another rabbit might appear on budget day. But let's hope not. And certainly, you know, people like Chris Norris at the NLA are constantly talking to ministers and trying to get them to see sense on policies and see some of the impacts that their policies are having. So fingers crossed that, you know, we've seen the back of this bulge of regulation, and that the current government might be a bit more favourable towards us, but of course people are worried about the prospect of a Jeremy Corbyn government, particularly because of some of the announcements that were made at the conference, and that was one of the issues that was discussed today as well. We're very much into the unknown there. I mean, the polls at the moment put Labour and the Tories neck and neck, so who knows what could happen.
Well, again, uncertainty, and, you know, tend to be a bit of a rabbit in the headlights if you're not sure how it's all going to pan out. But I think, you know, I just want to say, actually, landlord associations, two of them represented here, and of course the RLA, they do a lot of very important work behind the scenes, and to change policy, it doesn't happen overnight. It can take years, and I know from my own experience how hard the landlord associations work behind the scenes at a very high level, and change will come. It's not going to be instantaneous, though, is it?
Oh no, by no means. And all we can do is just keep putting over the point of view about one of the comments that came out earlier on was, we've not had a government since the war that's had joined up thinking on housing. Please, let's have joined up thinking and do it now. Otherwise we're going to have problems. Well,
I totally agree, and as I walked to the stage with Ian Duncan-Smith at the Landlord Investment Show a few months ago, one of the things he said to me was, George Osborne has tweaked too many levers. And I think that's really a good summary of why everything's gone badly wrong in the private renters sector.
Knee-jerk reaction all the time, isn't it? Not joined up thinking,
Well, fantastic, guys. Thank you all very much for joining me here, and thank you for being part of the panel here at the Property Investor Show. Great to hear the insights, hear what landlords are thinking, and of course many, many more changes to come over the coming months, and we'll all be following them on Property Tribes, keeping you up to date, helping you be that informed landlord that we talked about in the interview.